that was some random music on another podcast that I'm doing tonight. We're back, and I'm just winging this podcast again because I really don't know what I'm doing or why I'm doing it. I'm just trying to fill space for a Saturday night since I'm bored and alone, and thought it would be nice to just record my stream of consciousness. If you're hearing any background noise, that is because I've got the TV going and I have music playing in the background just so I can have some background noise so I'm not by myself entirely, or it feels like I'm not by myself. But anyway, not much has changed since the last podcast I recorded. Really, what I've been doing is still working on some goals that I have for this year, and I'm still reading through Twilight, and I've made it to Breaking Dawn. I'm actually a third of the way through Breaking Dawn, and I'm picking up some more on so much stuff that I missed when I was a teenager reading it the first time. And I'm also seeing a lot of differences between the book and the movie, and it's been a wild experience, and it feels like I've been experiencing it for the first time, even though it's technically not my first time. But anyway, one of the biggest goals that I've come up with is I really want to get past the fear of flying on an airplane by myself because that's something I've never experienced. And I think in order to save money, the best thing for me to do is to fly home with my aunt when she leaves in May and go back home by myself in a few days after that. And the only catch to that is this is going to be over Mother's Day. So this is my first Mother's Day, and it makes me a little emotional thinking about this, but this is my first Mother's Day in 31 years that I have not spent it with my mom and my grandma. I've always been with them every Mother's Day. I've never missed a single Mother's Day with them. And so it's going to be a different experience. We plan on celebrating early as a family anyway because my aunt's going to be in town, and we just think that that would be the best time to do it. Even though we're doing it then, it still isn't the same. And I'm going to feel a little bit emotional that day while I'm with my family in Oklahoma. But this is the best thing for me, and it gets me used to traveling alone because my goal is, like I said, to go to Forks, Washington, and I plan on trying to go next year. I'm really excited. I really want to experience the nature of the area, and I really want to go to all the places I've been wanting to go since I was 15 years old, and I want to finally experience those things. And like I've mentioned in the last podcast, I don't want to turn 50 and be like, well, I never did any of this because I waited too long for someone special to be in my life, or I waited for that friend that I could trust to go on a trip like that. And I do have a lot of trustworthy people that are in my life that I know that I could trust, but they have different lives than I do. They're older than me. They have different life chapters. They can't always be free when I'm free. And it's hard for people to afford things like it is for me. Like, I'm trying to save money right now to have enough money to go out to this trip. And it's all I can do just to even have enough money saved for 2 nights at the one location I want to stay at. It's been a dream of mine to stay in the Swan House, and it's very expensive per night. And I have discovered and decided that I could probably afford 2 nights and still somehow have enough money to go somewhere else. And so that's just an example, and it's hard to find people that are willing to split that kind of cost or want to do the same things I want to do. And I just think it would be best if I experience that trip, that solo trip that scares me at my age. Um, Other than that, there's not really much else that's been new. I'm still, again, reading through Twilight, and I'm trying to get to Midnight Sun because I've never read Midnight Sun. I've had it for 5 years, and I've never opened it because I let life happen and I stopped reading. And rereading this series is actually getting me back into reading, and I'm really happy about that because it was one of my loves all my life. Like, I had a best friend that inspired me to be an avid reader, and I don't know why I stopped other than the fact that I just let life get in the way. I let life happen. I let other passions take over. And so right now I'm like trying to reread this, and then my next goal on my list, and you guys are going to shoot me if you're an avid fan, but my next goal is to read through Harry Potter. I've barely made it through the first and second books, so I'm going to have to go back and start over because I've let my life again take over and I've not had time to really enjoy reading again like I've wanted to. And I'm really excited that I've started to enjoy that. And I'm also scared for what's coming up in my life. But I think once I experience just one experience of flying alone, I can be assured that I can do it and I'm capable and I'm able to get through it. And I'm just hoping that it's not as hard as I'm making it out to be in my head. Um, Ironically, the day I fly out, I actually see my therapist. So it's perfect timing because she and I can talk about the experience that's about to come, and she can help me through navigating those complicated emotions that come with flying. And again, I'm sorry in advance if this is all over the place because it probably will be. It's just my thoughts. I'm just kind of putting my thoughts out there. I don't know how many of you care or listen to this stuff. I just want to practice being social online. And I just think that recording myself is a good way to do that, and playing with the equipment my brother got me is a good option to test. Um I'm not really sure what else to talk about other than, I'm just trying to live my life and experience things without waiting, without holding myself back or letting myself um, deny myself experiences because I'm single or I don't have that group of friends that are in the same chapter I'm in. Um, I'm still loving church. I do lights at church, and I really love the friend group that I've made as a result of doing that. And I like the events that we do as a group, and I like to participate. And it's been nice to just fellowship with all of those people. Um, it's been unfortunate that I've not really still met anybody there that would be, interested in getting to know me more and maybe developing that into a relationship. But I know that God has somebody handpicked, and I'm just trying to hold the faith of that, even though part of me is just highly frustrated. And I'm not the only one to say that, but dating in this day and age is very complicated and hard because even people in my age bracket, which is the 30s, and I've even seen this in the 40s, like to act like they're children. And they don't really want to be serious about anything, and they want to just play with you. And they like to throw around the labels that you're looking for just to bait and switch you. I know in my experience, I get a lot of the guys that like to say online that they're Christian and believe in God, but then when they live their lives, you know that they're not. And then they tempt you to go outside of what is biblically correct in terms of a relationship. And once they get you to do that and they get what they want, then they go play the field with someone else behind your back. I mean, that's been my experience anyway. And it's frustrating because I see it time and time again. And people in general, not just guys, but I know women are capable of this too. They're very good at being Jekyll and Hyde, and they look really good on paper, but then when you see them in real life, they're not anything like what they say they are online. And I keep having these coworkers encourage me to do more online dating, but part of me is just like, no, because how many of these people are catfish and how many of these people are liars? I mean, I watch Catfish enough that I'm suspicious of everyone that I meet online. And this day and age, you almost have to be because people lose their lives by being naive and blindly meeting people just anywhere and everywhere. And it's a scary thing to do. And just putting yourself out there like I have is scary. Like just doing this podcast is scary because you don't know what kind of judgment you're going to face. And I know that only God can really judge us, but there's still that general public that has some very way of putting things that's very snarky and very scathing to somebody like me that struggles with self-esteem and struggles with it self-acceptance. And like I'm actually practicing more self-acceptance with me and like where I'm at in life and where I am physically and where I am mentally. And I'm also trying to express gratitude when and where I can and to be grateful for what I have and what's in front of me, because I know a lot of what I have, most people this day and age would kill to have. And I may look back and think, well, I don't have the means to do this or that, but I look back as well on all the times that God has protected me. Like, He's always had me have enough money to provide for myself and pay my bills. Even though I've had debt up to my eyeballs, I've literally never defaulted or been late on anything that I've ever been asked to pay bill wise. And I'm always grateful for that. Like, there's been times where I've like been in the dire straits financially and I've needed my mom to help me, but I've never once gotten to the point where like I'm facing legal action because I can't pay a loan or my taxes or bills in general. And I'm really grateful that none of that's ever happened. And like back in COVID, when COVID first hit, I lost my job and I had nothing to back that up. They took my job away because I was at the lowest totem pole of salaries and they were trying to cut back and they weren't growing me anymore and they decided to cut my position. And thankfully, I don't know how or why or how this happened. I had enough money in my bank account to write my landlords a check for the remainder of the year. And I wrote the check and I told them, I said, please take this money while I have it. I have to look for another job. They cut my position. I will give you another check in January or February. And lo and behold, I was only on unemployment for like a month and then I got hired somewhere else. And that was when I was in the job from the depths of you know where. As most of you know me, that job I took right after Delaware Dynamics was not good, but it did get me financially stable and keep me afloat until I found the job I have now. Um, I really like what I do. I'm a technical trainer, if those of you that don't know, and it's at a company that does a lot of automated equipment and air powered equipment. And I help train the salespeople on our products to get them ready to go and sell these products to our customers. And I have to do a lot of research and I have to know a lot of the technicalities of how things work and why they work the way that they do. And I'm still in the process of learning, but I'm definitely not where I was 3 years ago. Like, I know a lot more than I did before. And a lot of the places, believe it or not, that I worked at used the products that my company uses. And I didn't think much of it. And now I can think more of it now and know what those are and how to use them and what they mean and things like that. And it's been a really good experience to have. Um, Other than that, I really don't have much else like new and exciting going on. I know I'm such an exciting person. Um, I've just been really diving back into my old loves, like when I was in high school, like, and I'm shamelessly doing it. Like, I'm trying to also make it so that I don't get myself in a sad place or a depressed place thinking about things back then, because I know back when like Twilight was popular and all those old loves that I used to love were popular. I was in high school. I had never dated anybody. I was fresh out of, trying to get into a new chapter of college. It was a blank slate. And my heart sometimes longs for that type of life again. But at the same time, I'm also grateful for all the experiences and the lifetimes I've lived since that series closed. And I'm just shamelessly diving back into the passion. And like, I'm really into, I don't know if I said this in the last podcast, but I'm starting to get into fantasy pens and I'm thinking about doing my own side business on learning how to make those with die casts and enamel. And I'm not really sure where to start. I'm a little daunted. I'm going to have to talk to some of these pen makers on how they got started, because I would like to be in on that as well, because people are making decent money because they're doing highly detailed designs. And I found these simply by diving back into Twilight. They're doing a lot of highly detailed Twilight pens. And I'm trying to do an art project in my room. And it's not a cheap project, it's a very expensive one. But I'm trying to do one where I have a pen board that tells the whole saga through the highlights of pens. And I'm doing my favorite scenes. I'm buying from these pen makers. I'm trying to stretch my money and do as best as I can. And at the same time, I'm also curious as to how they're made so that maybe I could learn how to do this and make my own pens and my own business. Because I think that would be fun. It would be a fun experience to dive into, as well as to get more money in a side hustle. But that's not the point. I would want to do it because I'm passionate about art, and I would love to be able to design something that I could make money from. Just for multiple reasons, not just to help me travel, but just to have that extra cushion, because who couldn't use an extra cushion these days, especially with the way that the economy is and the way that prices are and the ridiculous grocery bills that everybody's encountering, like myself. I mean, I even tried to get under $200 on Friday, and I ended up getting 197, and that was just with little bitty coupons. That was like $1 off here and there, and it was not really worth it. But anyway, that's pretty much what's been going on here. Is I'm just trying to work on my passions, and I'm still leaving my heart open and curious to meet new people and have new experiences, but at the same time not holding myself back from what I've always wanted to do, because when the kids come and the husband comes, things change. Obviously, all my passions have to take a back seat, and it's not about me anymore. And I'm trying to embrace the about me chapter of my life right now while I still have it, because I know that when a family comes along and a partner comes along that you want to put first, things change. You don't have the time, the money, or the means to do all these things. And like I said, I don't want 50 to come and I have all these regrets because I never dipped my toe in the water and tried to see what life was like. And it terrifies me. Like, honestly, thinking about getting on that plane by myself and trying to make sure I don't miss my gate and I know what I'm supposed to do and where I'm supposed to go, that scares the crap out of me right now. Like, I am shaking in my boots. And sorry if you hear vibrating or noises. Like I said, I've got music playing in the background and my phone is like right next to my laptop. And this thing I'm working with is highly sensitive. It picks up like everything, which I think is kind of neat. But anyway, I'm not sure how long I'm going to be on here talking. Um, Today has been like a full day. I just kind of like spent a lot of time with myself, but at the same time, I did some self care by going to the gym and I cleaned my house because I do every week. And now I'm back at my parents' house, just spending time with my pets and just enjoying, I guess, my alone time. Again, I apologize for the music. This thing is picking up the music. I can hear it in my headphones. But anyway, I hope everybody's doing okay. I'm trying to do okay. I'm hanging in there. And therapy is helping me quite a bit with things that I can't do on my own. Therapy and, of course, God. I pray as much as I can and I write in my journal and I'm doing all the things that I need to do to become a better me. But yeah, I've just been lately shamelessly um, diving into just what I like, what I've always liked, and going back down a trip of memory lane. And reading these books have been so awesome. Like, I've been taking pictures of like my favorite parts and just showcasing them. And I have to say, so far, my favorite book is Eclipse. Like, I already read through Eclipse. I found several gold nuggets that I loved, that the hopeless romantic in me just melts. Like, I melted when I read those words that Edward would say to Bella, and like just the certain parts of it where he proposes to her. And I don't know where my head was when I read these the first time as a young teenager, but it obviously was not in these books. I think that I was kind of focused so much on, I got to get these done so that I can get them read before the movies come out. I think I was rushing to get them done so that I could watch the movies after reading the books. I didn't even pick up so much on some of the differences. Like, and I don't know, those of you that are avid fans, but the beginning of Breaking Dawn Part 1 is actually the ending of Eclipse. It's actually that whole scene where Jacob runs from his house and throws the wedding invitation down. That happens at the end of Eclipse. That's not even at the beginning of Breaking Dawn Part 1, but the movie made it happen at the beginning of of that. And like Irina from the other coven that's part of their family, she didn't even go to the wedding, but she went to the wedding in the movie. And then all the wedding speeches. And I'm sorry if you guys already knew this, but I'm just discovering all this. But anyway, all the wedding speeches that they had, they're not even in the books. And I wish at least Edward's was, because Edward's is so beautiful. Like, I'm so glad they put that in the movie, but I also wish Stephanie Meyer would have written something like that into the book because seeing it written would have been really cool against what we hear in the movies all the time. Like, I discovered that. And I thought for a while when I was reading Eclipse, I thought that the bracelet was a movie thing, but it's actually not. It's just Edward waits to give his charm on the bracelet later in the book. If you guys haven't read this yet, I'm sorry. This is gonna have spoilers. If you're a young adult and you're just discovering this, because I know there's a whole new crop of kids, generation of kids that were really young at the time that these were popular that are just now discovering these. That's why there's an uptick in popularity actually of it because there's people that are now in their early 20s just discovering this, and they were really young when they were popular back then. And anyway, this is also making me, miss my friend, my best friend that I had, up until college. I mean, we were both passionate about this, and a lot of our lives were centered around this. And ironically enough, I've not even been back to my hometown. The funny thing is, I know exactly when I went to my hometown last in Oklahoma, and that was in 2011. And it's only because I remember going with my best friend and my family. She came with us, and I distinctly remember Breaking Dawn Part 1 just came out, and I had the soundtrack, and I was listening to that freaking soundtrack on repeat. I swear. I can't remember if at the time I was still using a CD player or if I had the iPhone by then. I think I might have had either an iPhone or an iPod Touch. I don't remember exactly what I had at the time. I'm not really sure if I had an official smartphone by my junior year of high school, but actually this was maybe the fall of my senior year. But we went for Thanksgiving, and that was the last time I went. And that's also why this is kind of an interesting time for me to fly back with my aunt because I can go back and now re-experience everything I did back when I went in 2011, and it's going to be different. I'm going to go home with the aunt that's coming to town, and then I'm going to stay with my other aunt because halfway through my trip because she lives closer to the airport, and she can take me to the airport when my trip concludes. Um, I have an early flight back, and I'm very nervous. I really hope that I'm able to pull off the process. I'm going to have to pay a lot of attention to what my aunt and I do when we go to Oklahoma so I know what I need to do when I'm flying home because I'm basically taking the same route that she and I are taking but in reverse. And so we're laying over in Fort Worth, Texas, and I just need to kind of memorize what all we do so that I can remember to do the same thing. Only maybe the gates might slightly change going home. But I'm just really nervous. And if you guys pray, please be praying for me because this is a very new experience for me. Just to re experiencing all the Twilight books. Like, I still have Breaking Dawn in the living room right now that I'm itching to read. But right now, I wanted to go ahead and record this just because I had a lot on my mind lately, and I've been meaning to record another podcast for a long time. And people have told me before that they like my voice. And I just thought that it'd be good to get on here and just have a discussion with whoever cares to listen. I'm already at 23 minutes of recording. But anyway, it's been a long week. I've been working a lot of hours so that I can have time off on Fridays, and it's been really nice to have that experience. I know that a lot of places don't allow you to do that, and I'm very fortunate to work somewhere that if the schedule permits, I'm allowed to work 4 10s and get Friday off. Um, but anyway, I don't know. I might wrap it up here. If I have any more thoughts, I'll record another segment. But I'm glad you're here. Thank you for listening. If you listened this far, I will keep you guys updated on my life and how things go. I might actually do a video of my experience at the airport, both coming and going to Oklahoma. We'll see. If I do one, I'll let you guys know. Obviously, you'll see it on my channel. But for right now, I'm kind of doing just these audio only podcasts because it's good to just play around with my recording equipment and experience it and be able to use it. I've got my headphones that I like, my nice headphones. But anyway, I hope you guys are all doing well. I'll keep you guys posted on my life. Thanks for listening, and I will have more content soon.